my God, here we go.
Welcome to Spiritually Unfiltered.
Finally, I think we need to speak on it's took us so long to get to this point of recording, but
Yeah,
there's so much reasoning as to why.
I think there was a lot going on behind the scenes for each of our lives, and it
Yeah.
didn't feel right until today. And it literally did not and could not happen until today, even though we tried to sit down and record other
Hmm.
times,
Yeah,
and it just didn't work because it wasn't time, and now is the time.
I know. And it's
So
about
we're here.
yeah, and so we're listening to that. This is part of what this podcast is all about because we're all about how can you actually bring spirituality into your reality,
Yeah,
And
into everyday life and not thinking that it has to be some like woo-woo way of living that's outside of like literally just living life.
exactly. And part of how we're showing up on this podcast is literally that. So,
Yes, we want everyone to know we named this Spiritually Unfiltered because we want it to just be like unfiltered conversations between Abby and I. Because we realized as we were having conversations, there's so much coaching, so much insight, so much wisdom in there that we're like, we just need to share this with people. And like, I think so many people are craving authenticity in spirituality, and we just want to literally just be a reflection of that. So, this is just going to be a series of our conversations about different things in lives in life and how we process it and just like spiritual aspects to these things. And we really hope you guys enjoy because we enjoy our conversations.
we do. And it's like, I think this is the thing. It's like our conversations are so abundant. I
Mm-hmm.
get off our calls together and it just, I mean, we said this when we first met in person in LA. We said that it was just like this very equal exchange. It was like
Mm-hmm.
I water you, you water me, and it was just so natural and so abundant. And our conversations are like that. They're just like giving to one another. And we just felt like, as you said, that these conversations would give to our communities as well and
Mm-hmm.
really serve on another way. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to I'm excited to see what happens in our journey
Yeah.
over the course of this podcast.
Yeah. I mean, I
So,
think it's going to be great. And I also think it's another great way where, like, you and I both can just share who we are. And I think more people just want to get to know us. And I think we want to share who we are outside of me, like, being this channeler and you doing human design. Like, there's so much more to us. And it's just so fun to share that and have people, like, just get to know us. And so, yeah, welcome, guys.
welcome to Spiritually Unfiltered. So, um, yeah. So, Seema, what's been going on in your life lately? Are there certain things that you are moving through, understanding more about yourself? And I think, how are you coaching yourself?
I think I'm coaching myself like literally every day through everything because my mindset in life is now that way. But I think what we like decided that we're going to do here is just speak about what's going on in our life at the time because it just flows naturally and we don't have to think about what we talk about. So in my life, what's going on, it's a lot of dating stuff. And I I have like opened myself up to dating because I just felt called to it again. And the dating world has been fun and interesting and exciting and also like what the fuck is this? It's been all of it at once. But it serves so many beautiful lessons and it serves so much good stuff. And there's two things that I took away from this like last guy that I was dating and I just thought it was so important and it's one of those things that I was going to share it with you anyway, so we're going to share it here cuz I realized in this like as we are women who decide to be in their feminine and who want to be in their feminine regardless of like how successful they are in their careers or not, it's like in a relationship we want to be in our feminine. We're looking for that man to lead in the masculine and create safety for us and like allow us to just be in our feminine and be playful and silly and joyful. And so I was dating this guy and we only dated for a month and you know that. And I recently cut it off because it just was not feeling good to me anymore. And as I've sat with the lessons, and there's so many lessons, I think people that we call in and people that we're attracted to are either a reflection of like a pattern to us or something new within us. And sometimes they can be a reflection of both the newness and a pattern. But there's one thing I really noticed after I ended stuff with this guy that I was like, wow, I really got to see in the month of dating him how he leads his life and how messy his leadership in his own life was. And I knew that from the beginning when I met him. And in that 1 month, I realized how much it was making my life messy. And it was just such a reminder that when you're choosing a man and you're choosing a partner, you have to see how he leads his life, how he takes care of himself, mind, body, soul, because that is how he's going to lead you guys' life together.
Mm.
Especially when you want the masculine to be that leader, how he leads is how he leads your life. And I started to recognize, Abby, that I was like, I feel exhausted every day. And I'm not one that gets exhausted every day. Sure, I'll get like a little tired, but exhaustion is not it. And it just felt messy. I felt a disconnect from my work happening, like a disconnect from like my own divinity. And I realized I'm like, oh my God, this is how he's leading his life. And that's not working for me. So that was one big thing I realized. And I'm just like, really pay attention to how a man is leading every aspect of his life because that's how he's going to lead you guys. And
Right.
when a man doesn't lead in a way that feels really good, there's not going to be any safety. And if there's no safety, we can't surrender.
I think safety is like number one when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
dating a guy and being in your feminine. And safety is not just financial safety and being
Mm-hmm.
taken care of and being provided for. Like, that is one aspect of it. And that's why,
Yeah.
we always say like it's important for a guy to pay for the first date. But because it's like it's a sign of that
Listen,
safety.
I'm gonna take it a layer above that. It's not for the first date, it's for all the dates,
Yeah.
please, gentlemen. Just be the provider. Don't worry, we will provide in other ways. But like
Exactly.
financially, please, please just be the provider.
Yeah, but it's like, that layer of safety, that essence of safety that you get from a man, it shows up in so many different ways,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but what I would like to take this back to, because something that you said, I knew from the beginning he
Hmm.
was like this, but I still continued in. And I really want to pick
Yeah.
up on this because I think this is like actually a really good lesson and it's something that we've spoke about a lot and it's this idea, when we are like intending for something in our life, when we're like manifesting something, right? And then the universe presents us with something, right? And we can sometimes, and I was speaking about this today, but what we can sometimes do is we can, remember the frequency of, what we're manifesting when we're, doing our vision board, like setting intentions or like this. When it shows up and we're going through it, we can sometimes feel that disconnect from, those things that we say, oh, this is how I'm going to be, or this is what's going to happen, but also that is part of the lesson. That is the contraction that we need in order to, get to the next level, to get to the next phase of that manifestation coming to life,
Hmm.
But what was your experience with that?
So when I first met this guy, there was things about him and especially how I saw he led his life. For example, I'm just gonna get very personal, and if he ever hears this, he knows I'm talking about him. He smoked cigarettes. I, being the woman that I am, the consciousness that I have, my relationship to health, and the things I choose to intentionally put into my body, cigarettes is not a thing. I'm like, people still smoke that stuff?
Right, I know.
And so I saw that, and it was one of those things where he's like, I have cut down a lot and I'm continuing to cut down. It's nothing that I want to have in my life. And so I always leave room for people because I'm like, I don't think we're going to meet someone who's perfect. That does like literally the frequency of
Mm.
perfection doesn't exist. It's
Yeah.
about growth and someone who is in that like growth mindset and wants to continuously evolve in different ways. So when I saw that desire for growth, I was like, okay, well, that's there and that's important. And also, I'm going to keep my eye on this because like smoking is our tool of like de-stressing. There's so many healthier tools. So that's where I saw this and I recognized that something was not fully like there. But the reason why I continued it is because intuitively I felt called to continue to explore this. Logically, I'd be like, he's a smoker. No, intuitively, I wanted to explore it further because there were things that he was offering that did felt really nice. Like he was the type that wanted to be the provider, that believed that the masculine should be the one that works and provides. And if I want to work, I can work. And if I don't want to work, I don't need to work. He had the same vision for life and lifestyle that I had, and he had very much that same ambition. And so I liked those things. And it was like that part felt very much in alignment. And it felt like I needed to be in this experience to really experience that, because when we're in an experience and we experience that, now the codes of that experience are in our body. Now we know how that feels. And so I can see that's why there was this intuitive draw of I want to continue this. I want to explore this. Even though I knew certain things were not fully it, it's because I recognized afterwards I needed to have the experience of those other things, the good things, so I can integrate that and actually know what that experience feels like to have that type of masculine.
Yeah.
And so that aspect of it very much worked for me. It was a reflection of the woman that I have become and what I am calling in. So it was like a check, and I was like, thank you, God. Like, this is such clarity to me of what I am calling in. And that other aspect of how he led his life and what I recognize, I'm like, that's just giving me more clarity and understanding and
For
all
sure.
those things. And dating is very special because it's experiences, it's wisdom, and it gives us our own shadows. It shows us certain shadows we have in relationships. Like, I recognized in that dynamic with him that I was afraid to be in my feminine. I was so used to not having safety in my feminine through other relationships and through my upbringing that, like, when I started to feel like, oh my God, I could really be girly here and be feminine here, and it feels nice and playful, I was like, whoa, my God, there was a fear of that in my body. So it brought up so many of those shadows for me that I got to work through, and like, and I recognized it was those lessons that were in there is why my intuition was like, explore this. But
Yeah.
then as I really received those, it also got to a point where like I didn't want to explore it anymore because
Yeah.
his chaos in that aspect of his life and him not being open to wanting to work through it,
Hmm.
that's where I was like, okay, now there's really a disconnect because you don't want to grow through this, you want to continue this, and
Hmm.
it's leaking into my life, and this doesn't feel good.
I want to pick up on something that you said that was about, and this is like the point of this podcast. This is, spirituality is to be embodied, it's to be integrated into life. And actually, we can do so much spiritual work by ourselves, but
Mhm.
we cannot integrate in isolation, So
Mhm.
when we're not allowing ourselves to, and well, this is the thing with relationships. This is why so many of our shadows come up in relationships. This
Yeah.
is why so many of our shadows come up when we start a business.
Yep.
These are like those integration tools.
Mhm.
And, I think this is a good message for people who are, really called to start dating again or called to start a business and they're holding themselves back. And it's like, I need to do more work or I need to fix this or fix that or whatever. Like part of the integration and the initiation is to dive into those things.
Yeah, yeah.
You
It's
know,
what you said. We can't integrate in isolation. Like that doesn't happen. Like we need to be in real life, in the experiences, and that's when the integration happens. It's how we choose to then show up in a situation, and most importantly, how we choose to process a situation. Because it could have been so easy after this experience to be like, "Ah, you see, all men are like this. All men do this." Like
mm,
it's so easy to do that, but like in that way of like living spiritually, living intentionally in a way that we also take accountability, I can see the divinity in the situation where I'm like, why did I call in someone like this? What are the lessons it was teaching me? Other than the beautiful lessons, like the beautiful stuff that I saw, I'm like, what were the shadows in me that attracted a man like this? And then I accepted this. So instead of being like, ah, I'm too good for him anyways, or like, the ego stuff we'll say to ourselves or say to each other. It was more so, well, I also started feeling really unhappy in this situation, and I'm proud of myself for stepping out of it quickly. And also, what why did I attract this? So instead of like putting blame on the person, it's taking accountability. And
yeah,
then it's like letting it go from there. And that's where we can practice this quote unquote spiritual living because it's about how we're processing stuff. And it's not just operating from this like shadow ego place and like
Mhm.
blaming other people and be like, oh, you see, all men suck. Because as I shared with you before, when I ended it with him, I sent a very beautiful message of saying this just really isn't working anymore. Thank you so much for that month, and so on and so forth. And he never responded back to me.
Like,
Like
did he
nothing.
still not respond back to you?
Nothing. I haven't heard a thing from him. And so it's so easy for that shadow side of my, oh, fuck this guy. You see?
Yeah,
Look
yeah.
at it. It's so easy to do that. But you see, this is where the integration happens, that instead of doing that, it's almost like, well, I also created this situation for myself where the guy doesn't respond to me.
Mhm.
And it's more so just looking at that, and it's more so just honoring, well, I showed up in the way that felt beautiful to me, so I love how I showed up. I showed up in my integrity, in my honor, because I am not one to ghost a person. I don't feel called to doing that.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
you see, being in the experience and how we choose to process it, that's spirituality. I think people get lost on spirituality is words, spirituality is love and light. Spirituality is not love and light. Spirituality is all of the colors in between and all of the moods in between and all of the feelings in between. Because there were moments where I was getting really frustrated and I was like, fuck this motherfucker. Those words came out of my mouth. Of course they did. But that's not where I sit, that's not where I land, that's not what I actually believe. And
Yeah,
so
it's not where you
we
end up. It's not where you finish it.
it's
And
not
like,
where you end up. You take that energy of what you're feeling and you digest it and you process it and you take the nutrients and the good out of it. So once this all really ended and like he never even responded to me, I sat one day and I was just like, you know what? Let me sit in prayer. Let me send him love. Let me thank him for the experience and all the things he reflected to me. And let me send blessings his way and ask God to guide him on his journey and protect his heart and really allow him to go to his highest place that he's meant to be on his journey. And it was just with so much love and gratitude for the catalyst he was in my life for my journey. And that's what relationships are, the good, bad, ugly. They're all that.
yeah. And it's like, when you're sending someone love, you're actually sending yourself love as
Oh,
well.
I love that.
You're showing love for yourself because you think about it, if you allow
Mhm.
yourself to just like sit in the frustration, sit in the sort of anger towards that person, you're creating more of that in your life, you
Yeah.
know?
There's that saying that says being angry at someone else is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Mm, mm-hmm.
Like that is like those emotions, while it's okay, like if you have anger, if you have frustration, if you have resentment, feel it, don't bypass it. Feel it and see what it's bringing up for you and then transmute it. But to sit in those feelings and to actually unpack there and sit in that towards another person, no, that's just poisoning you.
Exactly. And like this
Mhm.
is what I think as well when it comes to, I said it the other day about like how we coach ourselves because literally like this is the power of spirituality, the power of one, like being aware of yourself, being aware of what's going on in your life and noticing the patterns, noticing the
Mhm.
shadows that come up and seeing them rather than seeing them as like, oh my God, this again, why is this pattern happening to me again, or whatever,
Yeah.
narrative we develop, rather than seeing it like that, seeing it as, oh my God, this is an opportunity for me to react differently, for me to
Mhm.
choose differently. It's like
Yep.
I see it as like it's almost like a I keep coming back to this week, but it almost seems like, like a Super Mario game. It's like
Mhm.
you repeat the pattern until you repeat the level until you pass it,
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
it's kind of life is kind of the same.
Exactly the same. And I think so many people are like, oh, why is this lesson coming up for me again? And they get into this victim mode about it. And I'm like, look, if a lesson's coming up again, there's more wisdom, there's
Mm,
more gold to be extracted from there. So get excited. There's more good stuff for you. It's not a bad thing. You're not failing, you're not doing anything wrong. And sometimes certain lessons repeat for a very long time because they are really big karmas that you are playing out, and
mm.
so it needs to repeat itself so that you can take this like juice, this goodness from it, layer by layer by layer. You're extracting good stuff from it. So if it comes back around again, don't be pissed. Get excited.
Exactly. And I
Like,
love this about our conversations because we're always like, whenever we're talking, it's like we're processing it at the same time.
yeah.
And we're all of a sudden we're like annoyed, and then we're getting excited because we're like, oh my God, like I see the
Yeah.
light in this. I see like where this is
I think
taking
we'll
me.
just have episodes where we get on a call and talk about stuff that we have not yet talked about with each other,
Oh
so
my
people can
God.
actually hear how we process and break shit down.
I don't know if we could do that though, because we're like we love our voice clips every
I
day.
know. We talk, we literally, guys, we talk every single day, and we check in and we send voice notes to each other.
Mm,
But let me tell you the second thing I learned in this
tell me.
experience with this guy that I was dating, because I think this is actually very important for everyone. I don't even know if I told you this part or not, Abby. I
Okay.
think I did. How the guy makes his money is very stinking important.
Mm,
Because one thing I realized about this guy, while he was very driven and very successful and very ambitious to continue to build more, I learned the way in which he was making money was somewhat, I don't want to say unethical because he wasn't doing anything shady in that sense, but there was a lot of like lying and manipulation in his business and what he was doing. And I'm like, I don't want that money to touch me with a 10-foot pole because, and I sat with spirit with this and I was like, that feels very wrong. I don't want, like, if a man is going to provide for my life and our children's life with that money, I don't want the frequency of that money. And I asked spirit, I'm like, tell me more about that. And they were like, the reason why it feels very off to be in relation to that energy of money is because I work with integrity when it comes to money. Money is not about making money. Money is really about providing the most good to someone else, and money is the reward. So it's like we're operating from a place of God, of source, of integrity, of honesty, and the money is just a reward for that. We're not doing work for money. But
yeah.
when someone is creating money from, let's just say, for lack of better words, from a shady space, whatever that may be, they're creating financial karma for themselves.
It's
If
also from
you
scarcity, you know? It's like,
it is also from scarcity, which
mhm,
does not feel good at all, which then also continues to create lack in their lives.
mhm,
But when they're creating it with that energy, it's creating karma when you are the beneficiary of that money, especially when you know that is how the money is being created.
mhm.
You're creating financial karma for yourself.
Right. Yeah.
Because when I like learned certain things about his business, it would just like push me away, and I felt like literally like I was like, I'm gonna throw up.
Mm,
And I had to sit with myself and be like, "What? Why did I have like such a deep reaction to that?" And
mm,
I realized like I make money in such a different way. My intention with money is so different and it's so pure, and it is, I operate from abundance,
yeah.
that this frequency was just such the opposite that I'm like, if I bring that in my life, it is going to destroy my business because that's not how
Mhm.
I operate.
Mm. And it's also,
And
I think as well, like when it comes to how a man shows up in business, that's also how he shows up in life, you know, coming
yes,
back to what you were
yes,
saying at the
yes.
beginning.
That's
And
what I realized there too. If he can so easily lie
yeah,
in his business, then he can so easily lie to me.
for sure.
Because how you do one thing is how you do everything.
That is so true. Yeah.
Hmm.
Mm.
So that was another big lesson there with money, because I'm just like, ladies or people who like to be taken care of in a relationship, pay attention to how that money is made, because how it's made, the intention it is made with, the love and the integrity that that money is received by is very important.
Mm-hmm. For
I
sure.
remember many, many years ago, it feels like a lifetime ago, when I was a dental hygienist, we had someone who worked in one of the dental offices, and I would always see the way this doctor made his money was very unethical, in my opinion.
Hmm.
And I remember even back then telling myself, I would never date a man like him while he's a doctor, while he's very wealthy, while he does very well. I wouldn't want this money because I see him doing certain unethical things and I don't like it. And I would never want that money to be attached to me.
Hmm.
And it felt like this was a full circle moment where it came back around to me. And I was like, no, integrity is of like the utmost importance to me.
Yeah, and you know, like it's also like it's making me think of it's making me sort of like bridge the energy of relationships with the energy of money. You know, they're both actually like quite Venusian energies. Like, you know, we when we
Hmm.
think about, for example, like Taurus energy, like it's it's money related, but it's like beauty and love and all of those things as well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so they're so like tied together.
Yeah.
So for sure, it's so interesting. And I was talking to you, I was saying to you earlier about something I sort of had I had a download about money last night.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, it's so funny because I can be like, I can tell you this, Seema, because you're gonna understand what I mean. But I was like, I felt like I was having a conversation with money. And something that money told me was, a lot of the times we will say, like, treat money like it's like a partner in your life, like treat it like it is, like you would treat a partner or how you would want to be treated. And so many of us are living in scarcity and are living in survival mode because we treat money like we won't look at money.
Mm-hmm.
We don't greet it like happily when we receive it. We only use it for like the necessities, so the bare
Mm-hmm.
minimum. So like really like think about those like energies inside a
And
relationship.
we think about money as stress.
Yes.
That's the relationship to money. So how are you ever going to become abundant if you think money and you think stress?
Exactly. And it's kind of like, I really see it as like, imagine if you had a partner and when they come home, you wouldn't look at them. The way that you guys would hang out with each other would just be going to the supermarket. It would be like, we would look at that relationship from the outside looking in and we'd be like, there's so much disconnection, like they're never gonna make it, there's no flow of energy between them, there's no
Yeah.
chemistry, you know
Yeah.
this is like how we would explain it. And yet this is, I really like had this conversation with money and money was like, take me out, like spend
Yes.
quality
Treat
time.
me good.
Yes, be happy to see me.
Yes, yes. Oh my God, this is so true. Some people talk about abundance and they want to make money and they try to do this and they try to do that and it doesn't come through. And it's always about, well, what is your relationship to money? How do
Yeah.
you feel about money? Do you feel sexy with money or do you
Oh,
feel
yeah.
fearful with money? Like,
Mhm.
when you spend money, are you spending it like, oh, no, I'm spending it on this? Or are you spending it with so much excitement and joy? Because when we spend money, we're never, people think, oh, I'm spending money, I'm going into lack or I'm going lesser because I just gave this much money away. And it's like, if that is your view, then you're always going to be in lack with money. But when you realize, I'm never losing anything. When I spend money, it's because I'm receiving something that then expands me. So I'm always expanding. Money is always expanding me, and money loves to be used for expansion. So you're going to call in more money. Our relationship to money is so important. And I love that you had that download to recognize that, oh my God, money is a frequency. Money is like an energy, it's an
Mhm.
entity. And what is our relationship to this thing that we want so much? If we want money, what is our, it's almost like love when someone's like, oh, I want love, but I think all men are dogs.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think your relationship to like love is going to be if that's your thought process to it?
Mhm.
And money
Mhm.
is very much the same thing.
Yeah. And so,
I tell people more about where this came from and what you were experiencing and the stillness that you had to sit in. And this is where these realizations and downloads were coming from.
yes. So I have been pretty much like for the last like week and a half, I have been sort of down and out, we could say. Like I have been suffering with back pain, and this is something that has been around before, but it hasn't like shown up for like a year or something like that. But and so I've been like really like forced to be still and really like sit with myself and sit with this pain because I really think like my mom was messaging me today and she was like, "Oh my God, please like take a paracetamol." And I was like, "No, I want to listen to what my body wants to tell me."
I'm the same way. When I'm in pain, I don't like taking medicine or stuff for it because I like sitting in it because I'm like, there's messages in that.
Yeah,
The discomfort, the pain is giving me answers.
exactly. And
Mhm.
I so I've been sitting with that pain, talking to that pain, really like journaling on that pain and letting what needs to come up, because I really feel, because I have like had this issue before, and I know like when I had this issue before, I was in a place in my life. It was when I was living in Hong Kong. And whilst I had like a really great life there, it was too stressful. There was so much pressure to be doing, going, that I would put pressure on myself as well, you know? And I was really suffering from it. And I remember I went to a chiropractor, like, and I went to a chiropractor 3 times a week for like months. And I remember sitting in the chiropractor and thinking to myself, this is crazy. The amount of people that come in here every
Mm-hmm.
morning, it's blowing my mind. And it's really, you know, showing me the energy of Hong Kong. You know, Hong Kong is like the New York of Asia. It's like fast paced, people don't stop, people are working all the time, it's like go go go. And what happened was, I was like, you know, I was deeply called to leave Hong Kong for multiple reasons. And literally as soon as I left Hong Kong, the pain went away.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like I went to Bali, and I went to the US, and I, you know, was traveling. And my body, I just felt like I released so much and I was so relaxed. And so about a week and a half ago, I did a breathwork session. Like I was like, okay, like I haven't been lifting heavy weights or something like that. Like I went for a breathwork session. And so, but that made me think even more, this is energetic. You know, I've basically purged something like to the surface, and
So
it's
the
like
breathwork session brought the pain back.
exactly. And so it's this, for me, it's like the breathwork session brought it to the surface, and it's like, you're ready to really look at this now. Like it's time to
Yeah.
look at this.
Yes.
And so that's what I've been doing. And we were having this conversation earlier on our daily voice clips about rest and about doing. And you know, like we're both ambitious. You know, we're both like, we both love very much what we do. And we love showing up and serving for our community. And I think sometimes when we're so passionate about something, we can feel in that space where we need to do more. You know, we need to keep going and keep, you know, we want to do more because we feel like we have a message, we have something to share. And for me, all of a sudden being like, you've got to sit still, like you can't do anything right now, it felt really, I mean, it felt uncomfortable, you know. But again, and this is like the power of just like knowing yourself, and the power of letting yourself sit with yourself and sit with your pain, sit with the discomfort, because
Mm-hmm.
there's there's no fear about it. I don't fear it.
Yeah.
I Whenever something like this comes up, yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, I don't really want to do it consciously, but
Mm-hmm.
actually like there's a bigger part of me that is like, this is initiation.
Yep.
This is like really the becoming. This is letting go of any of that, any of those narratives or stories I have around rest, you know?
Right.
And what I realized is, okay, like, you know, this year where I was, you know, mostly in Bali, I had a really great balance in my life, and I was really putting myself first all the time. And then obviously I moved to Sweden, and I kind of like, you know, I kind of just like drifted a little bit back into that Hong Kong energy of, I'm in a city, let's go, let's do it. There are things you know, I'm ready to create, I'm ready to manifest. And I think I've been putting myself under a little bit too much pressure. And
Yeah.
so again, like, you know, I feel like our body communicates that to us
Mm-hmm.
energetically first, but sometimes if you don't listen,
It
that's when
gets
it
loud.
starts to become physical. Yeah.
Right. It gets very loud to get our attention. And I remember when we were on a call last week just talking with each other, and you're like, "Well, can you ask my counsel if they say anything?" And I was like, "Absolutely. Let's see what your counsel says." And I was like getting crickets, and I was like, Abby, there's no guidance on what this is because they want you to sit in the discomfort, because the message around here is for you to sit in the stillness and be okay with like not creating something, doing something. And if they're going to give you the wisdom and the answers, well, then you're going to go straight back into doing. And I was like, I'm sorry, I know this isn't what you want to hear, but like, you got to sit in your shit right now. you're like, I know it. But in that week from last week till this week of just sitting with it and being with it, you have gotten so many downloads of what this pain has been reflecting to you, about how you felt that you had to produce something to then be worthy or valuable.
Yeah.
And like, that's really a reflection of how your feminine has been being suppressed, because that isn't the feminine. The feminine's worth is in being, not creating something to be valuable. So it's like that was reflected to you, and like you supporting your own self and asking for support in your business was reflected to you. And then this relationship with money was reflected to you. And so I think this was such a beautiful reflection that when we have those moments in life where we feel uncomfortable and we feel very called to just sit and be silent and literally not move. And sometimes it's created through back pain, or sometimes people get sick, and sometimes it's created through other things. And that's when we're finally listening and paying attention to it. But we can really pay attention to it when it is coming up and give ourselves those little breaks. But we're meant to sit in these moments of discomfort, in these moments of unknown, in these moments of silence, to then receive the divinity of the situation and what it is trying to reveal to us, without trying to rush through it and get the answer. And
Yeah.
I think in this last week, when you stop trying to rush through it, you stop trying to get your back better, and you just kind of surrendered. You're like, fine, this is it, and I'm going to sit with it, and I'm just going to pay attention to it. You have gotten so many beautiful insights and downloads that this is literally creating such an inner transformation that you're going to come out of this not only like not feeling that pain anymore, but as a different version. This is like your very own cocoon phase.
Oh my God, that is so weird that you say that because literally, like today, so I've been like, so of course I've been resting, but there's a part of me that's like, oh, I have to go outside and all of these things. But something that I kept saying was, I've been really enjoying just being in my apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I feel like it's like COVID times again because I'm like in my apartment most of the day. But today I was like, you know what? I don't feel like going outside. I want to be in my cocoon. That is exactly what I said to myself. And
Mm-hmm.
I needed some things from the shop. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to reach out to my community. I'm not going to, just do it all myself as I usually do. I'm a very independent person. I love that I'm independent, but sometimes, like you do like have to allow yourself to lean on your community. And so I messaged my best friend, she lives just down the road, which is beautiful. And I said, "Are you home?" And she's like, "What's up? Like, what do you need?" And I was like, "Oh, I need this from the store." And she's like, "I've got you." And she showed up and she helped me, so I
Yeah.
could be in that rest. And
There's something I want to say about this, because I know a lot of people, especially women, struggle to be in that receiver mode where
yeah.
they're like, no, I don't want to burden my friend or my loved one to do this for me. Like, I'll just go do it myself. And like, I want people to recognize that when you call on someone and ask them to support you, that ability for us to be in that space to support you fills us up so much.
Yes.
So don't rob
Mm,
people of the experience of also being able to give you, because the people that love you do want to give to you. And
mm,
it's the wrong people in your life that are like, oh, that's such a like nuisance for me. That's the wrong person in your life. The right people in your life want to pour into you. They want to give
mm.
you. So it's like, don't feel like, oh my God, I'm being a burden to them. You're
Oh,
not.
s-
It is such a gift and a privilege. I very much like you, like my best friend lives in my building, so we live in the same
oh my
building.
God, isn't
And
it like magic?
I love it. And
So
so a few
good.
months ago, she got sick, and like she really wasn't feeling well. And so I went to the store, I bought all the ingredients, I made soup for her. I had a bunch of supplements at home. So I made her like a little bit like a little like wellness package, and I left it behind her door. And it's like, and she didn't even ask me for it. I just like knew she was sick and she was craving like a home cooked soup.
Yeah.
And so I did it for her. And it made me feel like it filled me up. And I told her, I was like, thank you for allowing me to do this for you. Like, thank you for receiving it because it made me feel good to give. And so let's not rob the people that love us from being able to pour into us because that's a gift for them as much as it is for us. So
Exactly.
thank yourself for letting your friend do
Sure.
that for you.
Like I was like, I remember last week when it was first happening, I reached out to my friend and I was like, but then I forced myself to go to the shop. And I was like,
Mm,
no, today I'm not going to do that. And so it's like that practicing of receiving. And, you know, as I was saying, like as you were saying, there's been a lot of like downloads that have come through for me with this back pain. And honestly, there's so many layers to it. It's like,
mm,
but I almost see it as, and even how I'm like physically experiencing the pain, it's like this tension, right?
mhm.
And how I see it is it's something that is, you know, like somatically like wired into my body that my body is trying to hold on to.
Mhm.
But energetically, I'm like overriding it. I'm trying to let go, you know, and
Yeah.
that's what it is. And it's so all of these downloads that I'm having, it's like layer by layer by layer.
And you know what I want to say that makes so
Mm.
much sense in this space, and you mentioned this when we were speaking earlier. When we are in these seasons and we're feeling this type of pain or this type of stuff that continues to come up, we this is like the contraction. We could view
Contraction.
this as the contraction, and it literally physically is a contraction. And we have to remember when something contracts is because it wants to expand then.
Mm.
It wants to grow, which means if we're just trying to get through this situation and be the same version of us outside of this, we're not getting the lesson. We're going to continue this contraction. But when we realize this contraction is for an expansion, then you can see you're gaining all of these nuggets, all of the wisdom, all of the gold that's in this experience for you so that you can expand who you are and how you experience life and how you experience yourself on the other side. And then
Mm.
the contraction can go away because you're allowing this expansion to happen. But
Yeah,
if we're going through something and it's a season of life and we're contracting,
we're
but we
just
just want to get out of this contraction and be the same person we were and just not feel this contraction, like you're going to be stuck in that. The contraction is
exactly.
for the expansion. So what is it trying to expand you to? And you're getting those expansions. So I'm very curious of like when and how this back pain finally just like diminishes and like leaves because like its majesty is no longer needed here.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious to see how that happens, and I think that's going to be very fun to share with
Yeah, and
everyone
it's
as well.
exciting. It's like, you know, even like this morning when I woke up, it was honestly, it was probably the worst that it's felt like since I've had it.
Hmm.
But I didn't have like that mindset about it of, oh my God, you know, it's getting worse and like I'm gonna have to like go see someone. Like I actually didn't have that mindset
Yeah.
about it. I just felt like, oh my God, like I messaged you and I said, oh my God, is my like body like really stubborn? Because it's like really trying to hold on. And it's like even the feeling I had in my body was it was as if it was like loose but tense.
Uh-huh.
Like, and so I'm like, yeah, it's you know,
I love that you
doing
didn't
its
give
thing.
yourself so much pressure in that moment to get through it, and you're like, this is present, this is just what it is, and it's fine. And it's going to go away. You're sitting with the certainty and the conviction of this is going to go away. Like this is already gone. So I'm just going to like
Faith
tune
over
into
fear, baby. That's what it's
exactly. Like
about.
there is a reality in a dimension, in a timeline where this is already gone. So if we're not feeding into the fear of the experience and the frustration of the experience, we allow ourselves to actually tune in to that timeline and the reality where this no longer exists. And so what you're really doing here is tuning into the version of you that's there. And that version of
Mhm.
you has this expanded mindset and you become her and bam, the lesson leaves.
Bam, there it is.
Beautiful.
I know,
Well,
and like
I love this. This was so good.
I know, and like this is the thing, and this is you know, I think it's so. good that we've just shared like these two experiences that we've been moving
Mm-hmm.
through and processing, to let people know we still process things. Like just
Absolutely.
because we're coaches, it doesn't mean like, oh, we're done. Like it doesn't work like that.
And
It's
it
like,
doesn't mean that everything in our life is rainbows and butterflies. We go through, say, the same dips and valleys and shadows, and we go through all of it as well.
yeah.
We just, we just now, we have recognized through our process that life is like surfing in the ocean,
Mhm.
and we have learned how to surf, and that we've recognized that we have surfboards and we know how to surf, and we continue to hire coaches that support us in learning how to navigate bigger waves in our lives. And we've also recognized that sometimes on that surfboard we fall off the surfboard, but there's a safety net that's connecting you to the surfboard,
Yeah.
and you get back on, which also means when you fall off the surfboard and a wave gets you, it could be so fun because you're like, let's go again. I got this.
Exactly.
Let's go again. And we've just recognized that these are the cycles in life and this is how it works. So we've just learned to enjoy the ride and
Mm.
to kind of allow ourselves to be in those moments and be present with it and not trying to rush out of anything that happens. We're just present with it, and that's how we process
Mm.
through it. And then we share
Mm.
the magic with everyone else.
Exactly. And it's not like, it's not about not having things come up. It's about how you deal with it. And I think
Yes.
part of doing the work and, you know, being spiritual or like being grounded in spirituality, which is,
Mm-hmm.
I think, what we sort of pride ourselves on. This is like how you deal with it changes because
Yes.
you know
Yes.
that, like exactly, knowing that contraction comes before expansion.
Yeah.
This is
I think that's a big part of what we're doing here is reflecting to people how we deal with these things. Like
exactly.
that's it. And it's exactly what you said. It's not the absence of these things in our lives, it's how we interact with it. And
Mm,
so I think that's what we're really here to reflect to people is how we interact with these things and to just like give them some like tips and nuggets along the way because we both do love what we do and we love people so much and we love to inspire and uplift people. So
mm.
I love that we're here. I know that you and I both had like questions for each other, and this is a part of like how we get other people to get to know us too.
Yeah.
I think we should maybe do like one or two questions, but I do have a
Okay.
question that I want to ask you first.
Okay, go for it while I pull up my question for you.
Okay. What is one thing that you are the most excited about for like the rest of this year?
Oh my God. There's like that, okay. So I just moved back to Sweden. So if like people have followed me online and seen the way that I've lived my life, like literally for like my most of my adult life, I've just like traveled. I've lived in like I think 6 or 7 different countries in my adult life, and Sweden has always been, I've always called it my spiritual home. It's like the place where I've really created a life and I've really kept a life here over the years. All my best friends live here. I would always, whenever I was living somewhere else, I would travel back to Sweden and I would say like, "Oh, I'm going home." It's always been like home to me, and I think, I was sort of pulled away from Sweden for different lessons over the last few years, and I've come back now, and honestly, like I have never felt sort of any less need to travel, like any less desire to travel. And so I think I'm excited to be grounded. And
I
I'm,
love that.
yeah, and I'm just like, like I'm, making my home like pretty and I'm nurturing my home and it just feels like so good. And
Mhm.
one thing I've shared with you, and I was thinking about this before I was getting on the call, is I'm planning to I feel like my heart is really open to of course like call in my husband, like I'm so
Mhm.
excited to meet him, but I'm ready to like open my heart to like a being, and yeah, I'm in the fall I am planning to get a little dog, and this is
Oh, I
I feel like it's just like a symbol of like how grounded I feel. And even, even that is something that has come up about my back pain because it's kind of like
know.
I'm doing something so different than what I've done my whole adult life. And it's it's grounding me. It's like I'm really placing roots here. And so I'm excited about that. Like,
I love that. There's a part of me that doesn't love that because I'm like, oh, you're not going to travel to the US to see me, but I think it's perfect because I get to travel to come see you.
yes, exactly. Oh, I love that question. Okay, I have one for you as well.
Sure.
So I actually have three, but I'm probably
Ask
just
the
gonna,
most juicy one.
I think this one is a really nice one. So, what's
Okay.
your most favorite quality about yourself, and how does it serve you, or how do you use it in your life?
Oh, I like this one. My favorite quality about myself is my sassiness. I'll tell you how it serves me and like why I like it the most is because I feel like it's such an authentic reflection of me. And it's
Yeah.
something that when I first found out I had a gift and I was in the spiritual world and even just in my upbringing and who I was told to be as like as a woman and be like polite and stuff, it's everything I was told not to be and how to speak and how to carry myself. And I love it because it's just such an authentic version of me. And I love that I give myself permission to be me and to be sassy and to like curse when I speak because it gives me such permission to be this like bundle of energy and joy that is actually me. And it's like I've given myself permission to embody it and express it. And like it feels so good. And I feel like I love myself for that every single day because I give myself permission to show up like this. And my also hope for everyone, not hope, but like my intention for everyone else as they see this in me is that they can find that version of themselves. Because being authentically ourselves truly, truly, truly sets us free. And freedom has always been one of the big narratives in my life of just wanting to be free to be myself and express myself. And I know a lot of it has to do with my upbringing and like the cultural expectations. And so I was raised to be a certain way, not be myself.
Oh,
And so to give myself permission to be myself is one of my favorite things about me. And the fact that I let myself just discover myself through all these different phases of life and realize that I have this
yeah.
like fun sass to me and I let her come out knowing that like she's still grounded, she's mature, she's like professional, she's classy and she's fun and she's wild and she curses. I'm like, yes, that's me. And it feels so nourishing and fulfilling to be her. And I love that about me.
Do you know what? It's so funny. I do this to you all the time, but it's
What?
like you're
Oh, my human design.
I'm just like seeing your human design and I'm like, oh my God, like that's so perfect because it is like your life profile in human design. It's like grounded in wisdom, but it's also about like playing and enjoying life and,
Yeah.
having fun and experiencing things.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I
it's
feel
like
like
that
I give my
beautiful balance.
yes, I give myself such permission to be that. Like this morning, I was on the Awaken You call and I was hosting the call this morning. And as I was waiting for more people to get on the call, like those first couple of minutes as they're letting everyone in, I'm sitting there on the call talking to the girls about a new lip gloss I'm using. And it, I'm like, girls, I found this new lip gloss. It's so good and it's
I
clean and we
love
could use this. And I'm just, and like that, and like that feeds me because it's like, it's not about being on this call and being this like channeler that's going to channel wisdom and messages for them. It's like,
being
yeah,
rich.
I do that. And here I am. And here's my authentic self and how I do it. Cause I feel like we've been raised in a world that it's like, as a doctor, you show up like this. As an actor, you show up like this. As a teacher, you show up like this. So it like strips people of authenticity. And
Yeah,
so it's like I love that I give myself permission to do that and it makes it so fun.
amazing. I love that.
Amazing. Well, I
I
love you. I'm so happy we finally did this
Oh
today.
my gosh, this was so wonderful. And
Yes.
yeah, I hope you guys loved listening to this
Yes, please leave
episode.
us comments and feedback of what you liked from this. If there are specific topics you want us to talk about, let us know. We'll talk about all of it.
Yeah.
And yes, much more shows to come. We will be recording them weekly and then releasing them weekly. So,
Yes, I'm so
okay.
excited. Yeah. So thank you all for joining us and listening
Yes.
to our wisdom in the moment. You know, I feel like it is like what we decided that we were going to do with this podcast is we're just going to respond to things that are happening in our life
Yep. Yep.
and sharing them with you in real time and how we
It's the
coach.
generator in both of us. We respond.
It is, we're responders, and that's like the perfect way to do it. And
Yeah.
that's the way we are in our friendship as well. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we
Alright.
will see you guys next week on Spiritually Unfiltered.